Hello and welcome to another edition of Toys from the Attic, where we're coming to the end of October and the end of our monster theme month. Now you might be asking, why are we in the kitchen? Well, that has to go with today's theme. See, I ran out of Universal Monsters to cover, so I thought I would save the last review of this month for the most creepiest, the crawliest things I can imagine. Now, here's a little hint. They're squirmy, they're wormy, they're purple and green, they're the most ferocious little creatures you've ever seen. If you know that's jingle, then you know that we're going to be looking at creepy crawlers today. And also the creepy crawler oven. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this guy. Alright, so here we have the creepy crawler oven. There's not much actually to it. It's just an orange box with a green lid that you can actually see your little molds inside, and then a dial to turn it on and off. The dial actually also raises a little door so you can't get your little molds out before they're done cooking. Now, some could consider this was like the boys' answer to the little Easy Bake Oven, and I could see where that's true because it actually did have the little light bulb inside that would cook everything. Now, how this actually used to work is you'd get your little molds right here. Sadly, I'm not going to be actually making any today because after so many years, the little goop and the plastic have kind of separated in here. I don't know if you can kind of see that. It's just not coming down. I'm going to be experimenting with ways on how to try to get these back to see if I can mix these back up again. The goo still looks like it's worked. It just looks like the materials are separated and they just need to be mixed up again. But we'll get to those. That'll be a video for another day. Anyways, what you would do is you would take your little molds here and then fill them up with any of your little creepy crawler goop here. I don't know if I can't remember if it was called Magic. Yeah, Magic Maker goop. Yeah, it was Magic Maker oven. Yeah, that's what I thought. And you just fill your molds in here, and then depending on how detailed you want, I don't know if you can kind of see all the little details in here, but they have all these nice little ridges and cracks, so you can kind of have little dots going in each and every single one, and then you just do a massive, well, goop dump into one of them with one of these bigger bottles. Yeah, it came in different sizes and different colors, so you had a wide variety depending on how many goops your parents wanted to get you. Just before I go on, my uncle and cousin are the ones who actually had this, and then they gave it to me, so this is actually their goop collection. So we had quite an assortment to choose from. And yes, they're all kind of separated, so I do have a lot. If I can get these fixed, if I could get the goops back to normal, that'd be really good, and I could probably give you another demonstration of how this actually worked properly. Anyways, once you had your goops in here, you would actually then take a little, kind of almost like a little tray holder. Let me make sure this is open. And then you just stick your little oven in here. Dang it, this is a little bit harder to get in than I remember. And then you just let it out, turn it on, and then you'd wait about 15 minutes for it to cook. After that, you would turn it off and let it cool down for another 5 minutes. Now, the trays are made out of metal, so yeah, they would be really hot. Now after that, you would actually have to put it in this little tray here, which was usually filled with water, and then wait for another 2 or 3 minutes to let it cool down. Honestly, this toy, I remember playing with it with my cousins laying on the floor while my aunt and uncle were watching TV, and I would say that this toy could be kind of boring, but in a good way. The only thing that made it really boring was the waiting. I mean, because you'd fill your mold, put it in there, and then you got to wait almost like 20 minutes. So it's like we're just sitting there. It's like, is it done yet? Is it done yet? As for a kid with kids time, that can be kind of like really hard. It's like, oh man, I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this. As an adult, however, I wouldn't mind waiting 15 minutes. 15 minutes goes by quickly. I just turn on a TV show that I like. Remember, oh, it's commercial break. Take these things out. And let's pop in the next set, or grab a beer and just enjoy doing this. Just let time fly. The other reason why it was kind of a little bit of a hard wait is because my uncle had like tons of molds, and they made tons of these things. I mean, a lot. This isn't even actually all of them here. If I pull out, I could just keep on pulling out all these for just most of the video. But this is where it was hard, is because when one was in there, we were already starting to fill the next one, and we were starting to fill the next one and the next one, and there's two of us, so it's like we're having to share the same creepy crawler oven. So that's where it could get a little bit tedious, is because you want to stick your molds in right away, but you might have to wait for somebody else, or you might have to wait for your first set of molds to be done cooking. Eventually, the creepy crawlers did come out with what they called a super oven, but I'm not exactly sure if I have that yet, or if I just have another offshoot of this oven. Now that actually came out and looked like this. Now as you can see, it's slightly smaller than this one, but it still holds the same molds, and it's a little bit, the design I would have to say is a little bit better. You can definitely tell that there's more has gone into it. You have a nice spider at the top. It actually looks more like a mad scientist's oven creation. And the actual door on the front, let me see if I can get this, no, that's off. The door on the front, to let everything in, you had to flip up, and then once you turn the knob on, you could not pull this door open, so that means that there's no way you could actually reach in here and get anything. And I believe it wouldn't allow you to open it even until the temperature went down. And it had a nice warning on the top. Well, this one has a warning on the top that says do not touch, it's very hot. But I remember once I had two of these going, the weight actually went down a lot. The boredom for waiting for these things went down a lot. So if they ever my suggestion is, if you want one of these, get maybe 2 or 3, especially if you have kids. That way each kid has their own oven, and the boredom doesn't go down. The boredom issue isn't as big. Keep in mind, these things were still a lot of fun. I know I'm saying boring, but it's just like, oh my god, I guess it's anxiety is what I'm looking for. They still actually sell creepy crawlers today. I mean, I remember seeing a small, these came out when I was like about 6 or no, about maybe 10 or so. I can't remember what year, some in the 90s. But I remember they had a small resurgence in the early 2000s where you could buy more goop and a few more molds. Not as many as it was never got as popular as it was in the 90s, but still it had a small resurgence, and I wish I had gotten some of the goops then, because I would have, well, if I had known, and hindsight is kept in hindsight, I wish he could have told me. Now that I've still seen creepy crawlers on the shelves today at Toys R Us, but they're a lot different. They're a lot of them have more gels that you put in there, and some of them are ones you can eat and other stuff. So it's way different than what I originally grew up with. Now, as far as the different little designs that they had, they came up with a lot of neat little things. Let me see if I can pull out some of them right here. I mean, they had dinosaur-themed ones, if you can kind of tell. It's like a little mammoth. Then you had a little set of monsters that you could come with. You had, let me see if I can get them all out here. You had like a little mummy. Let me see if I can hold that up there. I know some of them aren't, the details might not be as easy to see. You had a witch, Frankenstein, you'd have Dracula, and a little skull graveyard. Now these were just out of the monster set, and as you can see, the color variation and what you wanted to put into it was all up to you. I mean, some of these things, it's just, they're the same molds over and over again. They're same little creatures, same little molds over and over again, but it's just the colors are different. And that's what actually made these so great, is because you could use your own imagination. You can use your own artistic ideas to come up with whatever you wanted. Now they also had the standard different bugs. You have spiders, beetles, other stuff. These were the ones that were most commonly portrayed on the commercials, where you stick them on. You could stick these things on glass mirrors, and they would actually stick, or trade them with your friends. And these ones are actually really cool too. Although I didn't use too much, I didn't make them too much because I was more bugophobic when I was younger. But still, looking back, these things are really neat. You had little bats and other stuff. Now, eventually, they did come out with other variations, and I have some of the molds here. Let me try to find one. Now, this mold, you might wonder what the heck it is. Well, right here is a brain, a heart, and some guts. And they eventually came out with a skeleton system that my cousin had. That the skeleton glue in the dark, and then you got some glow in the dark goop for it, and then you could make a skeleton with glow in the dark body parts. You got your lungs, your guts, your heart. I know some of these aren't colored properly. I wish we had done that back when we were a kid. You had kidneys, And then you had a brain. So, and the brain was actually pretty neat. You actually had a mold. Let me see if I can find. Yeah, the mold actually came like this. You just stick it in one side. You fill up both sides, and then once you were done, you just kind of flip the thing over, and the eyes lined up with the eyes lined up, and the brain lines up, and you got this neat little brain. And this was the way that they could actually start making more 3D molds without actually having a base to it. You just make one side and then the other. So that was actually pretty neat. Another one that they eventually came out with. Oh, look, head came off here. Just give me 1 second. Another one that my cousin had. That was pretty neat. Was you can make your own little trolls. That went on top of pencils, as you can see. Let me see if I can see it. They came with little plastic weapons. They came with little plastic hats, but you could make all sorts of little things for them. You had your, you could make like a tail. You made legs, arms, little jetpack, a cape, and the heads kind of work in the exact same way as the brain right over here. You just have a double mold like this that just folds out on each other, and you actually had a little 3D image right here. Let me see if I could find the actual heads. Here we go. Yeah, here you go. You just actually stick the head in here, or once you would fill up the head, you would fill up the mold, and then you'd stick this little tiny metal plate in there, so you had this like little cavity that would be baked in there. And then once everything was done, you just pop everything out. You're able to fold the head back on itself, and then you just put a little ring on here, and then you had a little little troll head that could fit on top of, that could be a pencil topper. So these things, I mean, just really branched out, and they had just so many different variations. One more thing, I got 2 more variations that I'm going to show you, is that they eventually also came out with dragons that you can make. Now this one is the one that I made long ago. It's a little bit dusty because he's actually been sitting on my shelf. But the idea is you could make actual flat little, you can make the flat little arms, you just make a flat little belly, back, tail, and then head and then mouth, and then each one of these things had holes to where they would fit and pop into each other. So if, let me see if I can pull this off right now. So see, you could just pull that off right now, and once you stuck everything through the holes, it made everything come together with more of a 3D look, and it was just really neat to see these things. Now you had, this is more of a four-legged sitting down dragon, but they had ones that would that could sit upright or sit up or actually go on the pencils as well. So they had a lot of variations with these too. I would actually make some if, well, like I said, if the goop was available. But this is just another way that these things, I can't stress this enough, they had so much variety with these things. Now, towards the end, remember how I said making actual 3D bugs? Towards the end of their line, they actually came out with a mold that you had to unscrew the top and then fill this thing, you'd fill it up as best as you can. I'm not going to actually unscrew it right now, but you'd fill this thing up as best you can with the base coloring. Then you would screw everything down, and they had these little holes in here to where then you would fill up the goop the rest of the way so that you could get these actual 3D bugs. So I have like a nice spider right here that's actually more three-dimensional than anything else that they had came out with at the time. Now, one thing I would say is though that this method was actually a little bit hard to perfect, because as you can see, you might get some air bubbles in there, and then you've just wasted all this goop and wasted a lot of time. But more practice with it, the better you got. So you had more. Here's a little ant that came with this one. Now the molds were actually rather expensive, but so they definitely were more of like Christmas items to ask or for or relatives. But this thing was a lot of fun, and let me just pull out all the creeper crawlers that me and my cousins actually made. As you can see, we've just made tons and tons of these things. So it's like all different colors, all glow in the dark. It was just a lot of fun actually sitting down and playing with these things. I am actually really sad that the goop doesn't work, because my cousin now has his own little son who's about 4, and I was hoping for him to be turn around 6 so we could actually all get together and go down memory lane, and me and my cousin and his son would actually remake these again. He might actually get a really kick out of it, but sadly the goop doesn't work anymore. So I think if I had spent time to actually shake these things up periodically every year, they might still be good. That's a lesson to anyone out there. If you still have this, still have your goop, maybe go back and test these things. If the goop still looks good, shake it every year. give it a good shake maybe once a year, just to see if hopefully everything will stay how they are, or stay good. Also, keep them in a good area. I kept mine in my garage for the longest time, and that gets kind of hot, so I'm hoping that nothing got cooked in there. But anyways, this has been a look at the creepy crawler oven. So till next time. Once again, thank you for watching. If you like what you've seen today, please feel free to subscribe or leave a comment below in the comment section. Any advice for the show will be greatly appreciated. Who knows, something you suggest may appear on the show in the future.